This video will be reviewing the experience purchasing and using the required COVID tests that the UK government lays out for all new incoming travelers. The starting point for this is gov.uk/UK-border-control. This is the main site that has all the customs information to get to the picking out your COVID test from a list of approved providers. Go down, click on what country you're in. This has all the countries listed on green, amber, and red. Basically, green, there's no self-quarantine, and you're required to take the 2-day test. The amber countries, you have to quarantine in place, and you're required to take a 2-day and an 8-day test. And there's an optional separate program called Test to Release, where you can get an optional 5-day test. When that comes back negative, then you can go walk around and you don't have to stay quarantined in your house. But you are still required to take the 8-day test. You can't get out of doing that. That is a hard requirement, and they have stiff penalties if you don't do that. And then the red is only residents and citizens of the UK can even come in from a red country, and then you have to go book a quarantine hotel. If that's your camp, you got to just go look that up yourself. So book and pay for a 2 8-day COVID test. Find a COVID test provider. If you're arriving in England, go down, find test provider, start now. Click on coming from an amber country. Continue. And then this takes you down to your list of providers. Now my quarantine location is in Greater London, so I'll filter for that. Essentially what the UK government has done is they've created a monopoly funnel, and you have all of these private clinics jockeying to try and get high up in the list. So when you see a lot of these 24 quid, 30 quid, 30, pounds, 30 pounds, 30 quid, 35 quid, so on and so forth. If you're coming from an amber country, you're going to end up paying, in the ballpark of 200 quid, if you get all 3 tests, maybe 120, 130, if you are only booking a 2 and 8 day. But the way the game is with these guys is you can see these guys that are listing the actual honest prices are so far down in the list that just with the psychology of search results, people aren't going to make it this far down. I made it through about 4 of them. When you click on some of these, like when it says $25, this right here, self-swab on site. On site means you're at the clinic location. So that's a physical location somewhere. In this case, I've clicked on London. Basically it requires you to go in there. Each one has their own website. Sometimes you schedule an appointment for like 7 in the morning. So, I mean, if you're living right next to one of these, maybe you can save a little bit of money. But if you leave your quarantine to go into the clinic, technically that's violating the spirit of the quarantine. So when I looked at them, I only looked at these self-swab at home options. You would hope that if the UK government was serious about the quarantine and not just doing a type of security theater, they would, when you select amber above, that it would eliminate all the providers that are advertising here with these prices that if you basically drop in at the clinic. But that's not the case. All of them have terrible customer service. When I was going through this, I tried to get through to about 4 of them, and I couldn't reach a single person. I was on the online chat, which is usually very responsive for banks and the such. Couldn't get a hold of a single person. Nobody answered the phone call, so they're all equally terrible from what I can see. And then, of course, the ones in the lower list, they're marketing. This is marketing to put a low price just to get prioritization list. The one that I actually ended up choosing, the reason that I picked them was because I'm not necessarily recommending them. They have a recent rash of 1-star reviews, so I'm guessing that they got hit with a surge of tests that overwhelmed the clinic or overwhelmed the delivery drivers. But otherwise, it's a 5-star review. I've already taken my 2-star test, and I'll go through what the experience with these. The reason I chose Abicare is because when I went in, the websites listed very straightforward. They didn't try and bait and switch. There was a clear grid that if I'm coming from an amber country, I can get package 1 or package 3. Package 1 has your 2 and 8 day test. Package 3 has your 2, 8, and also your day 5 test release tests. So I just bought that option. All of them are going to end up being in the 175 quid range. Self swab at home is what you need to do to not be in violation of the quarantine, 10 days at home quarantine. What they do is, and it specifies on the website, is they will use a professional courier. In this case, they use DPD, which is a professional courier just like DHL or UPS. And they on day 2, I got a text message in the morning at about 9:30 that said that my delivery driver will drop off my test between the hours of 11:08 and 12:08, and sure enough, he arrived at 11:15. The way they do it, they come and they just drop it at your door and then take a picture instead of having you sign anything, so that they're not they're not coming into contact with somebody who's in quarantine. The package itself, I'll go through that later on in this video and unbox it, show the contents. Basically, the first package I got contains my day 2 and day 8 tests. Some of the reviews are saying that with Abicare, with the day 5 tests are showing up a day or two late. And so what I read into this is that a lot of these different clinics, they have a hard mandate from the UK government to provide day 2 and day 8 tests with clear health guidelines of quarantine procedures. So they work really hard, as hard as you can when you're just trying to shimmy customers through your funnel to meet those requirements. But then when it comes to the day 5, I mean, obviously, from the customer's perspective, you're buying that because you want to get out of quarantine as soon as possible, but it's not a hard requirement from the UK, and so probably in meeting the demand of the other stuff, the day 5 can just kind of take second priority. So some of the reviews here of Abicare is that I'll do a whole experience review on my experience here, but there might be better options once you're in the UK for the 5-day test release, and I'll do a separate video on that around day 8 here once I complete it. So I like the Abicare because it has a very simple self-service portal. Here I can go print out receipts. I've got my day 2 results. When you enter, if we go look at this, I'll click this day 8. And if we go here, you enter in the barcode that's on your test sample. You put in the tracking number that's on the return envelope, the self-addressed paid return courier envelope, or it's Royal Post Mail envelope that they have, the date of the sample collection, time of sample collection, and then it logs this information. They'll get it through the Royal Post Mail. It's a laboratory. In this case, these guys are out of Manchester. They'll process it when I can go and click on here because of the Royal Post tracking number that I gave, and when I click on this, it shows that my test arrived this morning at 08:15. And then I have test results by now. It's the afternoon. And so I can click here and get a full printout of the test result and click here and it'll take me straight to the Royal Post Mail. So anyways, it's all a self-service portal. It's very, very easy. When you sign up and get your COVID test booking reference and you put in your contact information, they ask for some of the same information that the passenger locator form does, like what's your flight, what's your passport number, like that kind of things, because they validate each other in the database. Having that reference number and buying this package is a requirement on the passenger locator form, so you're not going to get in the country until you buy one of these from one of these folks. And I like the simple self-service portal. We'll see how they do on their day 5 results. I left a 5-star review on Trustpilot, but if you go on Trustpilot, you'll see a whole rash of 1-star reviews. So again, I'm not necessarily recommending these, but this is the criteria that I used, is that they were far less deceptive than most of these other ones that are just trying to jockey for position. Um, in the monopoly funnel that the UK government has created, they're all going to soak you. They're all going to just get over 50 quid or over per test. There isn't like a bargain from what I've seen, except for some of the ones that you can actually go to the site. Thing is, if you go to the site, you're violating quarantine. There isn't really checks. Like I say, a lot of this is security theater. So could you have a friend drive you to the clinic and go do it and then report the information and not get caught? Probably, yes. I don't recommend doing that. And if something bad happens, like if one of the tests comes back negative, and then you ended up getting a bunch of people infected, then that's usually when they'll throw the book at you. So I recommend just going along with with your trip plan and staying quarantined. But at the end of the day, you're really it has to be your judgment going through and just picking one of these. It's a requirement that you buy one of these before you come into the country. And so if you want to sort of skimp it and test the security theater, I don't recommend doing that, but it doesn't appear that there's clear mechanisms to stop you from doing that. Like I say, if the UK government was serious about this, they would have better filters on this list, but it's just a way of saving money. Same thing with the outsourced calls. There's not really a type of enforcement. It's just you saying, yes, I'm at home kind of thing. Next section will be the unpacking, where the package that I got, I already described the method that was delivered, DPD, text message. I was really happy with all that. So, okay, without further ado, we'll move on to the next section.